Hi all, it's JK here. So this is the final video in the mini-series of the Mark III Focus RS. There she is in all her glory. It's been a pleasure driving the car and going through the footage, and it is a very good car. But this video is about the Focus RS versus the Golf R, which is better for performance and which is better for an everyday car and which would be better in my opinion on the track. So let's get to it. I didn't buy the RS in the end. I went in expecting to be a broke man and less a Golf R. Going by the media and the hype, and there is a lot of hype as well, I was expecting to do a deal. I was also expecting to fall in love with the car on the test drive, just like I did with my Golf R. But this didn't happen. I really like the car. And if the Golf R didn't exist, I'd buy the car, or I would have bought the car before I go over. But what I found out, which we'll go over in a minute. But ultimately, the test drive showed me what we got there was a very capable road car. A very capable road car on the road, which is actually a track car, pretty much. It's an entry-level track car, and it wasn't even that hardcore, to be fair. I think probably an RS enthusiast might be a little bit disappointed with it. You know, to me, it's not in the realm of a Sierra Cosworth or anything like that. They are just legendaries, and I don't think this will ever be that way. But, you know, that's by the by, it's still a great car. Still really liked it. So, performance. You saw me do you saw me do launch control, and you saw me gun it a bit on a bit of a B road straight. It wasn't a twisty, it was a straight, but I managed to work the gearbox a bit. So going back to the launch control, which is better? Both the same. You know, not more I can say than that. I had good fun in it. You know, launch controls are good fun. You've seen me launch my Golf R a few times, and I launched that once, and you saw my reaction to it. I think I said wow or something like that. But if you remember the first time I launched my R, I was laughing like a madman. So where power delivery was concerned, it felt the same. Obviously it won't be true because there's 15% more power and more torques coming from this car, but because there's only 15% you don't really notice it, and that's the point. If you remember the 5 Things I Love video, I said that it was close between the Golf R and Audi RS3. Well, here it feels even closer to me. I think the RS3 has got slightly more power and slightly more torque, so you could certainly tell a marginal difference between the RS3 and the R, but the Focus RS and this R, I couldn't tell the difference in launch. Then when I went gunning it down the B road, the car held well. It was a really bouncy B road as well, and again it felt similar to the R. My R hasn't got DCC, but I've never been on a road like that in my R, and it felt like I'm on safari in a bloody Land Cruiser where I'm like, bloody hell, this is bouncy, and it's never made me feel motion sick. So what I'm saying is, on a public road, as mental as you can get within the law, both cars are identical. The difference being, you've got a 2.3 litre engine in this, which is 15% bigger than the R's 2 litre, and you've got obviously more running costs, higher road tax, higher fuel bills. He reckoned 25 miles to the gallon, I reckon 22. The car told us 15 miles to the gallon with hard driving. Whereas on the Golf R with hard driving, you'll get between 19 and 22. So fuel-wise, your R is going to be laughing. You're going to be a lot richer in the long term with fuel and running costs. For drivability and fun, they're equal. So in other words, for the extra cost that the RS is going to incur, isn't worth it. So, you know, but the test drive is testament to that. I went in expecting to come out with a new car, and instead I came out with a smile on my face for 2 reasons. One, I realised the RS isn't a Type R with 4-wheel drive, which is what my main concern was. I thought it was going to be a very hard ride, very loud in drive experience, because the R is a track car, but this was an in-between. It was slightly firmer than the R, but far more comfortable and well refined than the Type R. Also at motorway speeds, it was fine. It was quiet, no wind noise, no tyre noise. Brilliant. So it's a match there, in my opinion. Now, performance, and now going to the cost and what do I think of it as from a cost point of view. They quoted me £35,710, right? And this is for extras that are already part of the R standard. So, for example, power folding mirrors, standard on the R. Rear parking sensors, standard on the R. Emergency city stop, which is, you're driving along, somebody stops in front of you, then your car stops on your behalf, which I put in my 5 things I hate video of my R. Standard on the R. Here, it's 200 quid extra. These features, I'm telling you, they're an extra grand. The Brembo calipers, to get them blue, 100 quid. So, where the media is saying that this outguns the R and is cheaper than the R, I'm not seeing it. I don't know where that's coming from. And, I can't be proved wrong because I've documented it and I put it on YouTube for you to see. But now, so getting down to the question, well, obviously, Jay, you like the car, but you're obviously saying it's on par with the R. What do I think of the idea of a track car? Well, in theory, right, the RS is a track car. Yes, it's a road car and it's good for the road, but it definitely leans toward track. And my opinion is drift mode is a pointless feature. It's a nice idea and people have fun using it, but if you speak to anybody that drifts, they tell you about the skill involved and the satisfaction of what you feel once you've mastered that skill. Go to a motorbiker, right? And most of them that are into the race biking, they dream of getting the knees down. And I've not spoken to many that have got the knee down. And you ask them what it's like, and they say it's an amazing feeling. You've mastered a skill. And drifting's the same thing. I've asked people how it's done, and it's to do with pumping the accelerator and the clutch and the brakes at certain times using the handbrake. And getting the drift and maintaining the drift and then going around in a donut takes skill. So I've read reviews that say the drift button, it takes that away from you. It's still fun, but it takes that part of the process away from you. And to me, that's pointless. So drift mode, I'm not interested in that. And the track mode, I'm not very impressed with that either, because if you look at Google at the minute, Google the problems with the RS, the main thing is, and it's probably the ultimate insult to Ford engineers, embarrassment, the rear diff overheats. It overheats after 20-30 minutes, and you no longer have four-wheel drive. You have to pull in and let it cool down. This is on track use, obviously, and to me, that's pathetic. I'm sorry, but you're spending 35 grand on a car, right? It's got a poor interior, as you may have seen in my videos, and a lot of you didn't like the interior. I myself was okay with the interior, but I think with time you would get fed up with the interior, and it doesn't even work on track properly. So I found this out before the test drive. Luckily, had I not found out, would I have bought the car? I don't think so, because like I said, I didn't fall in love with it like I did the R. The R is something I've looked at for a while, and when I test drove, it surpassed my expectations. This car did as well. It impressed me. I thought it would be, like I said, a four-wheel drive Type R. It wasn't. It was better than that, but it wasn't special enough to make me give my Golf up. So when I found this out, that it's probably the worst thing I've ever heard. It's as bad as the Mark 1 Golf, the Mark 7 Golf R Revision 1. Turbo's blowing every 5 minutes. So I guess the second revision RS, they'll hopefully solve that problem. But in the meantime, I'd be so fucking angry. If I'd have bought this car and then I'd given him my Golf R, and then 12 months down the line, I take delivery of it, and I take it to a track, and on that track, for some reason, I see my Golf R reg. Oh, look, there's my R. I sold it like a year ago for this. So I get chatting to the owner, and we get next to each other on the grid, and we go off, and we're having a good laugh on the track. Then all of a sudden, I got flashing lights saying pull over, limpo mode, call your dealer. And I see the diff smoking. and I'm on my hands and knees, you know, cooling it down, trying to get it cooled down so I can quickly get back on the track again, because track driving ain't cheap. You don't want to spend your time watching that thing cool down. You want to be getting every minute. And then I was seeing my R going round and round and round, and the guy's laughing. I'd be well fucking angry. So that is big flaw to me. Most of you wouldn't care. You'd buy it as an everyday car, but this car isn't an everyday car. Now, I know I'm contradicting myself there. A second ago I said it's brilliant on normal roads, but the clutch is quite heavy. It's springy and it's quite stiff. I imagine with everyday use over a long time, you'd get fed up of it. If you were doing a long drive, certainly with a lot of stop-starting, with a lot of motorways, roadworks, accidents, constantly on the clutch, edging your speed, getting it biting, your foot's going to hurt. It really is. It's a stiff clutch. And obviously the seats are very firm, very firm. The dealer confirmed that. He recommended the regular seats, but those seats that I sat in, the shell seats, even too firm for road track use, in my opinion, because if you go get a few laps on and you want to keep going, but then your arse falls asleep, you've got to pull over and have a rest. Whereas you don't want to do that, you want to keep going, which is funny because they're Recaros. And my experience of Recaro with my Type R is they're the best seats I've ever sat in, far better than my Golf R ones. So yeah, it's not very good for everyday use because of the seats and because of the clutch. So they match on performance for the road, and for the track in the current revision RS, the R is better because it won't break down, it will keep going. In fact, any car will be better with a later revision. So what do I think? Well, I think, right, buy a Golf R. If you want an everyday performance car and have the odd sprint, buy a Golf R. If you want a car that you intend to track and use as a toy, like I did, you'd be happy with a Golf R as well. Really, you should be looking at the RS because it's more, in theory, it's more track oriented and it's got better toys. But in practice, in the current revision, those toys don't work. The diff overheats, the power steering overheats. The drift button is a pointless feature. I don't see you'd ever use it. If you're a real drifter, you want to do it on your own using your own skill. So, well, you know, it's up to you, but that's my advice. My advice is if you really want a cracking car that's either a toy or an all-rounder, it's the Golf R, because it's the final mark revision of this mark. So it's had every recall done already. It's on I think it's on a third revision turbo. Beautiful interior. The interior of this car is pathetic. You've all picked it up. I found it was okay, but I can imagine with time I'd sit back and think I'm really fed up with this interior. Whereas my Golf's interior, I still really like it. I like feeling the steering wheel. I like touching the sat nav and the dash. And you know, whereas when you saw me test driving this, I didn't like the steering wheel. So yeah, that's my take on it. Buy a Golf R, basically. The media saying that this is better than the Golf R outguns the Golf R. It's hype. Maybe if the rear diff didn't overheat on track, maybe if it performed on track properly, and maybe if you didn't use it as an everyday car, possibly it would be better than a Golf R. But for 15% more power and torques, and for a drift mode button and a track button that doesn't really work because it overheats, is it really worth buying and waiting 12 months for as well? That's the other thing I don't like. But I do like the car. It is a great car. So, but my advice is I'd buy the R again if I was in the market. But this picture does sum up the car to me, and I do think it is epic. But it didn't steal my heart like the Golf R did, so that tells you how good the Golf R is. But it begs the question, what the hell are the media going on about? Is it hype? Have they been bought out by Ford? So yeah, that concludes that series. Next, I'm eyeing up the M2, the BMW M2, because I've heard that that's better than the Golf R as well. I've heard it's more a driver's car. So I'm going to do a video on that, and if that takes my heart, I'll probably end up buying that as well. But if not, I won't. So, but this isn't because I'm fed up with my Golf R. It's just the fact that, you know, I paid my Golf R off, and while it's worth a lot of money, I may as well see what else is out there that I might like and get the most of my money for it while I can. And, you know, dealers give you a lot more for your money when you part X. So, yeah, there you go. That concludes the Mark III. Don't don't buy it because it's the very first revision. If you do, wait for the second revision. I wouldn't blame you because it is an excellent car, but my advice to you is it's no better than the Golf R.